Welcome to the Havenlight podcast. Today we're here with Jeffery Mann. We want to welcome you to the episode.
Awesome. No, thank you for having me.
One of my favorite things about working here is that we have thousands of pieces of art and depictions of Jesus. And what I love is that every single artist has a different perspective and view of who Jesus is and what he looks like. So one of my favorite things to do is to ask people, who is Jesus to you? What does he look like? When you have a conversation with him, what's it going to be like? Like, who is Jesus to Jeffery?
Yeah. Big thing I always say is, I hope that God and Jesus know me when I die by the conversations I've had with them here on earth. And I hope at that time, through prayer and those reaching out and just connecting, that they already know me on a closer level because I took the time to communicate with them. I think for me, Jesus, I see him as my brother, as my exemplar. I think he is what we're all trying to be. And I think understanding that if we are wanting to be like Jesus, and that's what I'm striving to do each day, it's not going to be easy. Jesus, you look at his life, he went through so much. We'll never go through the same. We can't even compare it. But we do understand that, hey, you are going to have some days that suck. And you are going to have some days that are amazing. But following him on the journey and walking in the steps that he did, we have to be willing to embrace the hard. And so for me, I think it's understanding that if I'm truly trying to be like this person, I have to be willing to walk in the mud.
I love that. The reason we can get back to heaven is because he was beaten and bruised and crucified. And, you know, he was a real person and he did that for you. He did that for me. And I want people to have that genuine relationship with Jesus, like you're saying, that's not surface level. It's much deeper than that. Like, he is a person and he loves you. And that idea of that he'll know you because of what you've done here on earth and the conversations that you've had here is you know, biblically accurate. Like, he knows you now, and what you're doing now will have an influence on the life to come. And so I really like what you said there. When I first came across your content, you had a viral post, your probably biggest post that you've had. There was a quote on it that touched me very deep. I remember sitting in my car on a rough day and literally tears coming to my eyes when I read the quote, "After all, he was just a carpenter's son. Do you think he smelled the wood on the cross and thought of home?"
Yeah.
Where did that come from? How did you get that, and what does that mean to you?
I honestly, it's a funny story behind that video because there was another guy who did a similar video and looks just like me, lives in New Jersey, and so people kept sending me the video, and they're like, "Is this you?" And I watched it a few times, and I'm like, "No." And I said to myself, okay, how can I recreate this video but put a personal spin on it? So that very next morning, went to the gym, we're lifting, and I'm thinking about, okay, my pillars are faith, fitness, family, finances. What is a quote that would be meaningful and impactful to other people? And for me, the gym is my home away from home. It's my place where I get to think. It's my place where I get to connect with myself. And so in that process, I was just like, this is the perfect quote. I'm in a spot where I consider home. I'm a spot where I can connect with myself. And so kind of threw it together, put that quote together, and it just took off.
Yeah.
And it still to this day is my most viewed video. And it's interesting the way that one short video can have such a big impact on people. And really what it told me, it's not so much what you say and it's not so much what you do, but it's how you make people feel. And in doing so, that video has reached more people than I ever imagined.
What I loved so much about that quote is that it humanized Jesus Christ, even though he's an exalted figure.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, he was a real person. He had a dad. Like, he was born and he grew up. We learn in the scriptures that he grew and he learned just like we did. And I think when you really put yourself in his shoes and you think about what he went through, like, he definitely thought of home. Mm-hmm. He definitely loved his parents. And I think, that had a big impact on me. And I wanted to hear where that came from because I think it has affected a lot of people.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Is there any image of Christ you've ever seen that's had an impact on you?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a piece done by Lislam and Swindle.
Yeah.
What resonates with you here?
It's a beautiful piece because I think for me, you know, when you are in a third world country and away from so much, you kind of get into that mindset of woe is me, God has forsaken me, doesn't know me. And this to me is a beautiful picture of Jesus is there for all of his siblings. God is there for all of his children. And it's beautiful to see a picture of Jesus there holding a kid in Africa, in a place, in a country where, their trials and tribulations are much worse than ours. And so my parents have a copy of this, and it's always been a painting that I just love because it shows that, Jesus doesn't discriminate and that all of us are valued and seen in his eyes.
There's a very similar piece where there's a group of kids around. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's part of that same collection, and that piece really hit me. And the thought that came to mind was, it's Jesus in Africa. It's in a place you don't generally see him.
Yeah.
And you see this group of kids that are just so happy and so excited. And the way I envision it in my mind is that this kid had a chance to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
And he turned and he said, I can't wait to introduce you to all my friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's those pieces go together so well hand in hand, because it's like, here's this moment of a individual having a very intimate relationship and moment with Jesus, and then it changes to all of his friends are there. And I think we can learn a lot from that, in that when we have a moment with Jesus, it's important to share.
Yeah.
So with you and your platform, you do a very good job at sharing Jesus. What's your goals? What are your visions? What are your ambitions? And how are you hoping to spread, more of that light of Christ in other people's lives?
Yeah. For me, I think it starts off with my faith is my foundation. It's
that.
what is my guiding light, my guiding principles. It's what instills my non-negotiables. When I was in high school, one of the goals I set, and I don't ask me why or how I thought I could do it, but I wanted to impact 1 billion lives. That was the goal, and so that's what I've tried to do, and I did it a lot through coaching. I worked at Adoption Foundation and helped run an adoption camp for years. Got into the game of social media and realized I can touch way more people and impact them without leaving my house, without, having to travel. And so for me, that's been my biggest goal, is just if one video impacts one person, then I'm fine. I'm happy. If one post or one message reaches one person, then I've done my job. And so my platform really is solely to help impact people and to just share my life. And the beautiful thing is I haven't had to change or pivot or adapt anything that I do every day. This is just me, and people get it whether they like it or not, and that's how I live my life. We all have trials. We all have our difficulties, regardless of whether social media wants to tell us that everything is beautiful and easy. It's not. And when we understand that everyone around us is more alike than they are different, then I think we all connect on a different level.
I want to hear, how your struggles and what you've been through can help other people grow closer to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of it for me is studying the teachings of the Bible. One of my favorite people is the Apostle Paul.
Yes, love him.
One of the things that I've adapted it into my life, into my career, is when Paul talks about when he was out teaching, he said, to the Jews, I became a Jew. To the weak, I became weak. When you listen to his teachings in the cities he went to, he would quote the local poets that were there because he knew this would reach the people better than just his words. And so for me, it's about being adaptable. It's about being able to, rather than force a group of people to be like me, is how can I be more like them? And so we understand each other on the same level. And so for me, I think the biggest thing is just studying the teachings. And how can I apply the teachings into my life, not just spiritually, but also in your everyday work, in how you interact with people. And so for me, that's been a huge guiding light.
Do you feel like you as a character resonate with Paul?
Yeah.
You're very similar?
Yeah. I think I resonate with Saul, who became Paul. I think that whole journey of understanding that people can change and they can become better people resonates completely with me. And I think it's the journey of I've had my faults, I've had my my down days, but I also have had my really good days.
Yeah.
I've learned in this life that I'm blessed to live that each day, if I act like could be my last day, then I go about it differently. There's different energy that gets you out of bed every morning. And so for me, it's learning from the teachings that have been provided. It's learning from the example of Jesus and his life and understanding why he did what he did, but also be willing to embrace the long journey.
What have you found has the greatest impact on your clients as the people that you work with?
Live by example. You can't expect people to do certain things that you're not doing yourself. And whether they know you are or they don't, there's still, I believe in karma, but also believe about being in integrity with yourself. If these are my fundamentals and my standards and this is what I preach, I'm not in integrity if I'm doing something else, if I'm doing something different. And so when people see that you're honest, you're authentic, and you practice what you preach, you're able to reach them more. I think the other thing is, and this is one of the hardest things I do, you have to allow people to fail.
Yes.
We want to bail out people and help people and make their life amazing, but really you learn more in the struggle than you do the success. And so allowing people to fail, allowing people to learn on their own. And you don't always have to, you can be there and outstretch your hand, hey, I'm here to help you, but you don't always have to be there. And then I think the last thing for me is, it's one of the things everyone that I'm around and understanding is that I always say, I am, who I'm not, I'll never be. Each of us are created the way that God intended it to be, the good, the bad, and ugly. And we are placed on this earth to coexist in that way. And if we're all the same, there'd be no growth.
Yeah.
There'd be no understanding. We're all created so very different because each of us fit in the puzzle that's called this earth. And so when you find where you're meant to be and you plug yourself into that puzzle, then it makes a beautiful picture. But so many of us are either trying to be something we're not or trying to become something we're not supposed to. It's like, just be you and let everything fall into place.
So how do you balance trying to be something you're not with trying to be someone different than you are?
It's doing work on yourself and understanding what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are my blind spots, where are the areas that I'm really struggling at, and being willing to dive deep into work. What past traumas do I have? What things trigger me? When you understand all of these things, you start to be able to live actually in your skin and be comfortable. So many of us turn to crutches because we don't want to face those demons or those struggles or those problems. That's when you see people, they turn to drugs or alcohol or pornography. It's because they're trying to mask it. But if you're willing to dig deep, and it's hard, and work on yourself, then you don't have to cover it with a mask or those other things that you turn to that just make things worse.
So those traumas that you deal with inside, how do you go about solving and resolving those things?
The biggest thing comes to being real, being honest, being authentic, but also understanding people are the way they are. And it's not our job to change them. I have been reading a book by Mel Robbins called The Let Them Theory. You have to let people make their decisions. You have to let people make mistakes. You have to let people be racist. If all my energy is focused on what other people are doing and saying and believing, I'm burning so much energy focused on that, when in all reality, they're going to do it regardless. So let them. If you're at a job and you don't like your boss and he fires people and you want to step in and say something, just let them. To me, that has also helped me be able to realize I can control what I can control and stay in my lane. When we try to control other people, that's when we start to have resentment, have anger. And so it's really about being in your lane, focusing on yourself, let things happen around you because it's going to, regardless of whatever you want to do or say, it's going to happen. And if you're so focused on the outcome of other things you can't control, it affects you way too much.
I love that. So I guess we'll close on this. You talked about if you could go back and talk to one person, you talk to Paul.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that a little bit. If you could go back and talk to 10-year-old Jeffrey, what advice would you give to him to help him become a better person today?
I think I would tell him, just be you. So many times I've tried to craft myself into the image that society would have me be, or the way I felt I needed to be to fit in with people or to make friends and different stuff. And it would have saved me so many headaches if I had been just myself. Just be you. I think the other thing is learn to embrace the suck. Because, when you're young, you're excited, you're ready to take on life, and then you get hit by something, and again, and again, and again. And if you can learn that the law of polarity and the way the universe works is every negative has a positive, and every positive has a negative. And so as you get older and you understand those things, you realize that, hey, this is a beautiful rose, but it has thorns. The sun can give me warmth and keep me warm, but it also can burn me. And so understanding the balances of the universe, I think, really helps us to be able to embrace that life. And, if I look back on my life, would I change some things? Yes, but should I? No. Everything was meant to happen the way that it did because it shaped me into the man that I am. And I wouldn't have been to the place I'm at now and being willing to work on myself if I hadn't gone through those experiences.
Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming on the
thank
podcast.
You.